welcome aboard, everybody. Time to talk football, and this one's going to be fun because it includes snow and ice and a comeback and everything. It's the Buffalo Bills as we go inside the Bills on a Thursday. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Bayberry Automotive, and without further ado, Boy Green, good morning. How are you? Sorry, forgot you.
Oh yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Yeah. How are you? Good morning.
No, let's just get to it. No. It's fine. Yeah, Anthony, how the hell are you? How are you doing,
Anthony Prohaska.
Happy freaking holidays. God bless.
Yeah. What's up, Anthony?
Right.
What's up? I'm good.
Who the hell am I?
You know,
You guys are good. No. You guys good. You guys do it. Okay.
Stop.
He's got
good idea. But just stay out. It's great. Recently, too, because of schedules or whatever, every so often Paul, handles an interview by himself, or I handle it by himself. It was almost like I didn't even realize he was there. So
damn.
Sorry, Paul.
Cold-blooded.
Wow, that's cold. That's quite. Hey, by the way, real quick, because we've been talking about this with Anthony. Let me go Anthony full screen here. We're talking about the star. On the top of your tray, and we can barely see it. But I want to ask Anthony because I can't see it all the way, so I have to guess a little bit here. But is that star at the top of your tree? Is that Christian Benford? Is that Christian Benford up there?
Nice, well played. I knew there was something. I was like, "What's the setup? What's the lead into here?" Yeah, well played.
Which, by the way, I love. I'm going to screw up the Twitter account. I don't know if I still have it in front of me. I don't think I do. They do the Inside the NFL stuff where. They'll have a Christian talking about the play after the fact in the post game. They're like, hey, man, I wasn't even supposed to be doing this on this play. He was explaining what his role was. And then the split second seeing Joe Burrow do something and how he has to adjust. And they include like the commentary from Joe Burrow from his perspective on Zach Taylor from his, the snow, the weather, the angles, and they show all the arrows on the field. That's super cool. And just showed that like Chris Benford said something like he was sort of giving love to God. He's like, I wasn't even supposed to jump. That's not my technique in that situation, but God told me to jump. I'm like, okay. And it took it. He takes it to the house. And that's like the game-changing play.
It was. I actually have the full. So, I took that specific part. He said on the play, I low-key was expecting run. So I was expecting to tackle, but I saw him, meaning Burrow, crank back and look for the now throw. And I wasn't supposed to jump. The technique is don't leave your feet. I don't know. God just gave me something for me to leave my feet. And that's exactly it. They brought that corner blitz. Usually they do it on early downs like they did there because they're trying to make a stop versus the run. And he blitzes and Burrow sees it / anticipates it. And Burrow is trying to just get it to chase on that, quote unquote now throw. And he handles it a little wonky and he ends up trying to like shot put it almost or like push it over Benford. And like Benford says, like the technique is don't leave your feet, but he did. And he plucked it from the sky. And that play, that could not have meant more to the Bills. Like they were down double digits in that quarter. They had just scored a touchdown. The Bengals are driving right down again. And then out of nowhere, you get a pick six that gives you the lead and changes the tide. And then you get a turnover on the next drive. Huge momentum changing play, just like his scoop and score was the previous week against the Steelers.
All right, let's get into it. I mean, I actually just this morning went through the condensed game and watched some of the all 22. So I'm all like filmed up for this one. Dare I say, Anthony?
Move over, Anthony.
Let's work a little chronology here because this was a game worth reviewing, and obviously we're going to spend some time talking about this week's game, which is maybe even more important. All right, but let's talk about this win over the Bengals. Bengals come out of the chute, and man, the Bills defense could not stop them, and they were marching down the field the first few drives. So let's talk about that. What was going on early in that game? And obviously the snow is falling in Buffalo. Yeah. The field is kind of covered. You're seeing a few of the line markers. I mean, it was fun to watch on TV. Give me your take of the early stages of this game and what was going on with the Bills.
The biggest thing was they couldn't get off the field on third downs. They were trying various things. They were going to more spot drop coverage than I would like them to kind of do, but they just couldn't get off the field. Like they'd be in man, they'd be in some spot drop. T. Higgins just kept getting open, or Burrow was making great throws. It's something that's just honestly not even those first couple drives, but really the game, aside from the turnovers, was really just symptomatic of what's happened when the Bills have played the Bengals, which is the Bengals offense has just consistently been a foil for them or like a bad matchup. They just haven't had great answers for them or in the past, regular season, postseason, whatever. They had Christian Benford on Jamar Chase in this game. Even if it wasn't man, they were, putting him as the zone corner to that side more often than not. And they made a concerted effort to kind of limit Chase, which they did in this game. But early on, they didn't have an answer for Higgins. And then as the game went on, they didn't have an answer for Gesicki in high leverage moments. I thought they played the run a bit better, but early on, those first couple drives, it was really just Burrow knowing what he wanted to do pre to post snap, either him making a great throw and or there being a great catch. It just seemed like whatever button the Bills pushed was the wrong button or not the right button. The Bengals just had an answer, whether it was because, their call beat the Bills call or because, their Jimmys and Joes were better than the Bills' Jimmys and Joes. But it was rough early on. And honestly, for most of the game, aside from those turnovers, the Bengals offense had their way with the Bills defense in that game.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Chase was not a huge factor in this game, but they got Higgins back from injury, and he immediately responded, which was big because if they were operating without him, how they were going to know. And Gesicki's gotten back in recent weeks, and we saw last year what kind of weapon he can be. So when you have Joe Burrow and then you have all those weapons, let's face it, this is not an easy Bengals team to stop. That is for sure.
No, yeah, they're a formidable group. And even too, I think so much of the conversation for the Bengals was always, even going into this year, going into this game, was really like, yeah, but their offensive line sucks and their offensive line is so bad. That was the big thing coming into the year. And they actually haven't been bad. And they've been pretty decent to good the past several weeks. And especially going up against a Bills banged up defensive line, it was like, can they get pressure? Can they get home? And then even within that, Burrow's so good at playing on time, getting the ball out quickly. And you saw that really early on in this game. Like, again, a lot of it because of the coverage pieces, Burrow had almost immediate answers. And if he didn't have an immediate answer, he could find one or he'd throw it up and someone would make a play. It was really just the Bills, not even trying to like make a joke, but like spinning their tires in the snow a little bit, like trying to find some semblance of footing, trying to gain some semblance of traction. And it was tough for them. They were kind of dying a really slow death. They started blitzing a bit more in the second half, played a little more on the front foot. They brought the corner blitz from Benford towards the end of the first half. They got a sack on Burrow and kept the Bengals at 21. So they started to take it to them a little bit more and try and play some high variance type of games. But yeah, it was rough. And again, somewhat understandable. The Bengals have a really good offense. Burrow is top tier. Chase is arguably the best receiver in the NFL. T. Higgins is phenomenal. And their line has been a bit better. And some of their other supporting cast guys can work there as well. But it was ugly early on and ugly for most of the game.
Again, it's Boy Green here with a couple of film junkies, Manchild, __, and disguised coverage. No disguise here. We got a couple of experts in the field, which is good to break down here. So let me go to whichever expert wants to speak first here on this subject matter. This week, we've got the rematch between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. The Patriots are at 11-2. The Bills are at 9-4. If the Bills have any chance of getting back into this, Anthony, which feel free to champion in or comment in on this, they have to beat the Patriots and get some extra help. What are the chances? I don't know if you're a chance guy. I'm going to be honest. My fiance hates this. Every time I say, "Hey, honey, what's this?" and then can you give it to me on a scale of 1 to 10 on the likelihood? She hates that. She wants to hit me with a frying pan with that thing. So I go over to you, Anthony. What are the chances the Bills can get back into this AFC East race?
It's tough because so much of it isn't necessarily dependent upon them. They haven't dug themselves a huge hole, but they have dug a hole. Obviously, if they lose to New England this week, it's done. But you have to beat the Pats, and then you're hoping, okay, can the Pats lose 2 of their final 3 games or all 3? And 2 of those are, you get Miami, it's the Jets, and then you got the Ravens. And so it's like, okay, the Ravens could beat them, but also the Ravens could like throw up all over themselves. Like they have the past couple of weeks. Who are they? Like Miami's playing actually good ball and running hot. Maybe they have a playoff spot to play for come the end of the year. The Jets are the Jets. So we'll kind of see what happens there. I think what's tough about it is a lot of it is just out of their hands, right? You're doing, even if you win this game, you're doing a lot of scoreboard watching, which is tough and which sucks for them. But I do think they have a good chance to win this game. I think the first matchup honestly was, I hate saying this because it makes it seem like the other team doesn't deserve credit, but so much in the first game was, the Bills had 3 turnovers, and then Drake May did a bunch of Josh Allen stuff where he's got defensive linemen hanging on him and he's not going down and he's still making throws. Stephon Diggs went crazy in that game. I think this is a very winnable game for the Buffalo Bills, but in terms of like getting in back really firmly in the division, they need to do a lot of scoreboard watching, and that's just so hard to predict from all the variables that can go into that.
And analytical guy that you are, if they ended up with the same record and they obviously split the season series, who has the advantage at the moment, or is it already nearly decided? Is it New England
It would
or
come
we still
down
don't know?
to conference record,
Well,
which
divisional record, right?
yeah, divisional record, and then so yeah, Miami. So essentially, if and then we get into all like the wonkiness of the tiebreakers. Like you would need in an ideal world, you are having the Patriots lose to the Bills, obviously, and then dropping another division
Mhm.
game. So that
Okay.
way they end up with the same division record. And then you would move towards the conference record, which again would be money. The Pats right now in the conference are 6-2. The Bills are 6-3. But if they lose to the Bills and a division opponent,
So,
that would
right.
give them
Okay.
4 losses. So then
So
the
it
tie would go to the Bills.
still is possible that they
Yeah.
could win the tiebreaker. We don't know at this
Yeah.
point because
So
there's still too many
yeah,
games on the table. Very interesting. Okay.
1,000%.
I'm just curious
Ideally,
whether
you
that
need
was.
them to lose. That's why, like, ideally, you just need the Bills need to win out. The simplest way to think of it is the Bills need to win out, and then the Pats lose 3 games.
Yeah.
One to the Bills, and then they're losing. They have to lose to the Bills, and then Baltimore and Miami or the Jets or all 4. Who knows?
All right. Before we go full blown Patriots on this, just a couple more things from the game. I spent a lot of time this morning, Boy Green. There are a couple of things that are really
Of
stuck under my
course, that's
craw.
what film junkies do. Yeah, I can
Listen,
understand.
that was such a fun game to watch. I watched it live, and then watching it back, I was like, wow, these are 2 terrific quarterbacks. Josh Allen was playing at an extremely high level in this game. Joe Burrow, until those 2 turnovers, and they were really unfortunate. The Benford play was unbelievable. And then the tip by Jordan Phillips, which was a great play, and then somehow it lands in Epinessa's lap. Those 2 things turn the game. So really, talk about a game of inches, right? With all the yards and the snow and everything we saw, this thing came down to inches on those 2 plays that really, really flipped the field and flipped the game. But the Bills did some amazing things in this game. The Josh Allen pass to Khalil Shakir that got them on the board for that first touchdown on a 4th down. How did he get that ball in there? That was about as small a window. I don't even know how Shakir even knew it was going to be coming at that point because he was still trying to move to get open, and all of a sudden he was open by maybe this much, and Josh Allen's like, "It's time, it's out." And before you knew it, boom, it was in his hands, and you were like, "Did they just score a touchdown on it?" It looked like the play was covered, and it turned into a TD.
Yeah, that was one of the, no hyperbole here. Like that's one of the best throws I've seen Allen make. Like they're down 11 at that point. It's 4th and 4, and I think that also kind of lent into it to a degree, right? Like he's trying to make a defender miss. He doesn't make the defender miss. I think it's BJ Hill who just doesn't fall for it. Like he's in space with Allen, but he stays right on him. And I think Allen it's 4th and 4. Okay, I gotta try and make something happen. And yeah, he fires one right past the linebacker's ear hole.
Yeah,
I think
right past his helmet.
literally
It was crazy.
the linebacker's looking at Shakir like this, and the ball goes right, like whizzes by his left ear, and it's pinned right onto Shakir. It was an unreal throw. Like the weather, the elements, the moment, the ball placement, the location. Like, and to your point, like in credit, Shakir getting upfield, and he gets upfield initially and peeks back, gets up again and like peeks back, but then starts to make a break. And then right as he turns, the ball is on him and he catches it. Just really an unreal throw from the all 22 angles, but even from the broadcast, it was one of the he fires it in there into all this traffic, but then you just hear the crowd erupt and you're like, oh, he caught it. Like you can't tell because he throws it in just a pile of bodies, but it's so precise. It's just an unreal throw.
And the other thing I wanted to mention in this game, and the Bills, I think, need to keep doing it, and hopefully they'll get back their larger weapon in this area. But that is the tight ends. What a game for Dawson Knox! Great use of the tight ends in this game. They got the touchdown to Hawes too on another 4th down play that kind of sealed the deal. So the tight ends were massive in this game for the Bills. Talk about the reemergence there. Clearly, it seems like it was in the game plan.
Yeah, I think some of it starts with Dalton Kincaid being able to play. He's banged up. He had a knee and a hammy going into this game. He seems to be a little more healthy this week going into the Pats game. But I think some of it also stems from the Bengals just being so bad against tight ends. They're one of the worst, if not the worst team when it comes to tight end yardage allowed and how they get schemed against. And I think some of it too also starts with you're playing 2 rookie linebackers in Knight and Barrett Carter. And it started really off the first play of the game where the Bills go play action. They false pull David Edwards. their left guard, which is ironically kind of like a play action tell for them because they don't really pull their guards in the run game. And you just see Carter and Knight just both get sucked up right into the line of scrimmage to play the run. Dawson Knox is wide open behind him, and it's a catch and run for like 50-something yards, and all of a sudden they're in Bengals territory. And I think that was really a representation of this game, of them trying to get the tight ends involved, trying to attack those linebackers. And that's kind of what they need to do going forward. Even when Josh Palmer gets healthy, they're not the strongest at the wide receiver position. Their strength from a formational standpoint, passing standpoint, mismatch standpoint is Dalton Kincaid, a little bit of Dawson Knox as well. And then, leaning into Hawes' skill set as a masher in the run, but who can also do some things in the pass. These tight ends are tremendously, tremendously important to the Bills' offense as a whole. And they really showed out on Sunday against the team and the Bengals, who have struggled to operate against tight ends.
Lord, you want to, I know you guys are, I don't even, I'm sort of this third wheel over here. So it feels sort of weird that I'm in the middle of you two. This is getting a little awkward at this dinner, this candlelit dinner. Like, I didn't even have a seat. I had to ask the waiter to pull one over. So I don't know if we should break and regroup and sort of see where we're at.
One small mistake and it's really come back at me, Anthony. I forgot to introduce him, and it's going to go the whole length of the video. All right, let's talk about the Patriots. And this very, very important. All right, I'll tell you what. Before we talk about the Patriots, logical break. Let's take a moment and talk. And I need a break. Paul needs a break. We all need a break.
It's all that film you watched this morning. It's just
my God!
Taking your bandwidth.
I watched a little too much film. All right, first a word from our friends at Bayberry Automotive, today's sponsor. We'll be right back. I think. I hope. I'm not sure. Maybe Paul will be back and I'll just leave. Stick around.
Integrity is a word that some people just throw around in life. But at Bayberry Automotive, integrity is everything. Integrity of their mechanics, who are all experienced and certified. Integrity in the work they perform, with nothing but 5-star reviews from satisfied customers on Google. Integrity that goes along with family. A family-run business that treats you like one of their own. Integrity in everything. Bayberry Automotive. BayberryAutomotive.com.
Located on Route 57 across from Bayberry Plaza, the premier choice for auto repair in Liverpool.
All right, we are back. Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital at MC Show Digital, our YouTube handle. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've just recently climbed over 400 subscribers, on our way to 500. So we're working our way slowly but surely into some kind of relevance in the digital world. But thanks to all of you who are joining our little party. We're giving away some great stuff. I got a Bobby Mercer ball that now is going out the door now that we've reached 400. We've got a golf club that's going out at 500. And Boy Green and I are right now feeling in the Christmas spirit. So we're coming up with other various items that are going out the door as well. BG, you want to jump in on this? Go ahead.
Yeah. The thing I wanted to jump in on is, our sponsor, Bayberry Automotive. I hear it in their commercial, we treat you like family. We treat you like one of your own. And I just wish you would, champion some of those things that our sponsored has, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Yeah, let's get into the Patriots. And speaking of family, this used to be a brother in arms for Anthony Prohaska. Stephon Diggs, and in that first Bills-Patriots matchup, good Lord have mercy, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. 10 catches, 146 yards on 12 targets. You guys knew that Stephon Diggs' revenge game was going to be a factor, but the Bills just seemingly had no answers. So, film boys, I don't know what you saw in the first matchup that maybe you can try to diagnose for this one, but spoiler alert, Stephon Diggs might be getting the ball a few more times in this one. Anthony Prohaska.
Yeah, they made a concerted effort to get him the ball early. I think the very first play of the game is play action pass, and it's a whip route to Diggs, and he gets the ball. A couple of them were catches in this game were off of May, kind of improvising, making some plays, including the one like downfield scramble that May's rolling to his right and he hits Diggs downfield. The play towards the end of the game where Daquan Jones gets in free off the line, I think on first down on the Pats' last offensive drive. Gets right to May, but May stiff arms him and has him hanging on, and he spits it out to Diggs, who runs for gets maybe like 9-10 yards. But Diggs is a good receiver, and especially at that time of the year, the Bills are playing more like spot drop coverage and just trying to find their way. I think they're a different defense now, not necessarily completely better or changed, but different now that Sean McDermott has taken over the defense. He still plays it kind of politically when asked, like, oh yeah, Bobby Babich and but this is majority of McDermott's defense, whether he's running it, game planning it, calling it in game. And he really started doing that once halftime hit of the Falcons game. So the week after that Patriots loss for the Bills, and they've been better. We've seen them operate, with more man and match principles on the back end, less spot drop coverage, some more creative coverage spins, not a ton, but just some more creativity, some more changes in some things. I'm interested to see kind of what he brings into this game. I think that'll be a big factor towards what type of game Diggs has this time, what type of game May and the Pats have this time. But still, again, like I mentioned earlier, despite that loss, the Pats put up 23 points, and a good chunk of their offensive plays were due to the Bills, giving turnovers and giving the ball back to Pats, but also just things that you can't really correct for. Similar when teams play Josh Allen. Sometimes Josh Allen makes a Josh Allen play, and you're just like, all right, man, you tip your cap. You had a bunch of those for Drake May. And that kind of stuff is hard to correct for.
Talking with Anthony Prohaska, our insider for all things Buffalo Bills from Cover One, closing in on the Christmas holidays as well. We'll have another Christmas question for Anthony to finish things off. We found out what his all-time favorite Christmas gift was last time, but I've got another question for you today. We'll see how you answer that one, Anthony, coming up in just a little bit.
I've been thinking about it. I was thinking about it like last night. I was like, I wonder what the Christmas.
What are they going to ask me? What are they going to ask me?
Because right, you have to be prepared for anything. Anthony, we got Turkish lamps last time over there.
Yeah, that's right.
You never know.
You know what? I didn't deliver that picture too, but I will
that's
be down.
right.
I will be down in the city next week, so I will take a personal picture of that lamp.
Yeah. You better.
So you'll get
we had this awesome conversation, and now you're just not.
And then you blew it. You totally blew it. Yeah.
Selfish. Okay. You're watching too much film. You got to get
100% priorities, man.
We need lamp film. That's what we need at this point.
With some Turkish lamp film. Yeah.
All right. You mentioned him in your last answer, but if we're going to talk about the Patriots, we have to talk about their quarterback Drake May. Now, if the Patriots go 11 and are only a 2-loss team, right? We got 17 games now. I'm just trying to
be 15-2.
Okay. If the Patriots end up 15-2, I used to be an accountant. That's hard to believe. If the Patriots end up 15-2, to me, there's no doubt that this young man has to be a very, very high consideration for MVP. He's playing against the reigning MVP in Josh Allen, who in all likelihood is not going to win the MVP this year, just circumstances and record and things. And of course, we still have 4 more weeks. Who knows what's going to happen? But it's not over. It feels right now, Anthony, it's a 2-man race between Stafford and May. Maybe you want to throw somebody else in the mix. Give me your thoughts about how Drake May has played this year, what the Bills are up against, and is he really deserving? You have the defending MVP on your squad, after all. Is he deserving of serious, and I mean serious, MVP consideration at this point?
He's been really good for this year. I mean, I liked him a lot coming out of Carolina, and for me, it was just a matter of not necessarily like if he was going to be successful, but more of just a when, and it was all really going to be tied into how much could he kind of be reined in a little bit, similar to kind of the Josh Allen arc coming out of Wyoming. How early or how much could you rein him in and where and get him to play within scheme and structure and play on time and in rhythm while still having the athleticism that he has and the arm that he has and all that. And I think the best thing for him was, Mike Vrabel coming in and bringing Josh McDaniels along with him and getting into that McDaniels offense. McDaniels has him playing everything I said, like on time, in rhythm, with good eyes, good feet, his mechanics, his decision-making. He just plays good, smart football. And then if something goes sideways and he needs to do something with his arm or his legs or out of, off script or out of structure, he can do that. The deep ball game for him has been so strong this year. Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford are in like their own stratosphere when it comes to like EPA per drop back on, deep balls, which is, throws of 20 or more air yards. But May is even a bit higher than both Darnold and Stafford. So he's just had a crazy good year, productive year, pushing the ball down the field. And I think overall, he should be in the MVP conversation. The only thing that I think is kind of a detractor for him and for this past team in general, the strength of schedule, I think, is a legitimate piece and the opponents that they play. One of the things I was diving into yesterday, like if you're looking at their defense and it's because you see all these metrics for them and it's like, wow, where are they ranking, EPA per play overall, or just, EPA per rush or EPA per pass, a bunch of metrics and pieces. And you see this Pats defense as a good defense, which they are. They're 9th in EPA per play, 11th in EPA per pass, 9th in EPA per rush, 6th in yards after contact per rush, 12th in stuff rate. But then you look at their DVOA, which not only accounts for game situations, but also opponent quality. and their defensive DVO ranks their 25th overall, 27th in pass defense, 16th in run defense. So significant drop-offs. And I think some of that applies to the offense and the MVP conversation, because it's like, wow, they're playing good, but also like, how good are they? Who have they really beaten? Especially if you're looking at like, look how they played the Bengals with no Joe Burrow and no Jamar Chase. And that game was a bit of a slog for them. So I think that kind of holds May back and this Pats team in general. Right now, if I had to give it to somebody, I'm giving it to Stafford because of the year that he's had and the year that the Rams have had. But if the Pats win out and the Rams falter at all, even if just the Pats win out, I think you can make an even stronger case for May. That's partly why this game against the Bills is so important, because I think it further legitimizes his case for MVP and the Patriots' case as being a legitimate, top seed in the AFC.
Anthony, we've continued to get to know each other over the years, and it's been a real treat. And I feel like I've come to know who you are, what you're sort of about. So I've got a question for you. I know this is going to be barking up right up the tree that I'm looking for here. The Bills, if the playoffs started today, they'd be the 6th seed out of 7 teams in the AFC. Have you started to dream the impossible dream of not making the playoffs? I'm sure all you Bills fans assume that's going to happen, but who you want to play, where you sit, if you win this or lose this, what's the matchup of the path? Because that's what it all matters, right? We all talk and lose our minds about getting the best possible seed and this or that because of all the perceptions that come with it. But really, it's about the path. Who cares if the Bills win the Super Bowl? If I tell Anthony after, I'm not so sure about the path they had to win the Super Bowl, Anthony's gonna be like, blow me, pal. I don't care about any of that. So I go over to you, Anthony. Have you been thinking at all about potential matchups and matchups you like and matchups you don't like with the teams that are in the mix?
1,000%. I'm not going to speak on them because I'm far too superstitious. You guys know that,
of course.
But I think especially within the AFC this year, like the AFC is so legitimately like wide open. Like I don't think the teams at the top are necessarily like, whoa, the teams at the top. I think anybody could beat anybody. Honestly, my pick for the AFC, because they're kind of turning around a little bit offensively. If the Texans can just score 20 points a game, I think the Texans are winning the AFC. Like, wow. That's the one team I don't want to face in the AFC. Their defense is just unreal, especially with how bad the offense has been. But if they can just get any semblance of offense or points from the offense with that defense, oof. But I have been looking at the matchups a ton. One, because again, like I said, I think that the conference is so wide open, but also every team has like a flaw or a big vulnerability or a big deficiency, and those can be magnified or mitigated based on the opponent that they play. And using the Bills as an example, like the Bills' run defense is bad, but you look at the teams that they would potentially play in the AFC, and you're like, well, none of these teams are like juggernauts running the ball, so maybe their biggest like weakness isn't that much of a weakness. But then it's also like you could play devil's advocate and be like, well, yeah, their run defense is so bad that maybe these bad running offenses can still run the ball on them because it's kind of bad on bad, and you see which one kind of gives. But I 1,000% have been looking at all of, matchup possibilities and paths and all of that. And it's hard not to at this time of year because it's a matchup league, and that's what's killed them in the past. Like, they've been a good regular season team. They've been a very good regular season defense this year and last year, a little differently, especially last year versus this one. But matchups have always kind of gotten them in the playoffs. So yeah, I'm definitely kind of looking towards that, although not jinxing anything, and I'm not assuming they're going to make the playoffs.
Of course, definitely not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it just sort of hit me because I'm looking at the AFC and the teams that are in. There's one team that's in the final wild card spot right now. That's Indianapolis, but they've got an incredibly tough schedule to finish off, and maybe a team can catch up. Although there's a 2-game gap between the Colts and the next best team, 4 games left to play. We'll see what happens. But correct me if I'm wrong here, Anthony. Wasn't Phillip Rivers' last game as a Colt against the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was in 2020. Yeah, in that wild card game. That honestly, the Colts should have won that game. They outplayed the Bills and kind of had the Bills number a bit in that one. But yeah, that was his last one. The COVID year. Yeah, the Bills beat the Colts in the wild card. Then they had that tight game in the snow and the wind against Baltimore in the divisional with the Taron Johnson pick 6, and then they lost to Kansas City in the AFC Championship.
So what do you just make of Phillip Rivers? 44-year-old on his birthday this week is coming back, and it looks like he's going to be the guy for the Colts. I'm just sort of curious. We have that symmetry of 5 years ago. He's in the running for the Hall of Fame this year.
He's a semifinalist.
Yeah, right. And if he gets signed to the active roster, I've heard from Steve Weish that will reset. So he'd have to wait another 5 years to be eligible again. But I'm just curious. It's from you being a Bills fan and seeing him in his last outing 5 years ago, and now he's coming back to try to save the Colts. I'm just curious your perspective.
It's just crazy to me. Like he's like not that age is like huge. I mean, it is a detriment to a degree, but like he's 44. I think he's been coaching like high school ball or his kids' team or like something like that, just chilling. The fact that like it's just wild overall that one, they couldn't find someone currently in the league. I think that also kind of speaks to maybe quarterbacking in the league and development in the league, all that type of stuff. But also I think it speaks to maybe how baller Phillip Rivers still is, that at like 44, like they're like, oh, he can get the job done. Like, and I saw him throwing some passes in practice yesterday. Like, he's still got some zip on the ball despite being 44 and his motion and like mechanics never being great. Like, I just find the whole thing funny and super interesting. And like, if he actually gets on the field and he starts a game or plays in a game, it's must watch TV, because I want to see what happens, especially with like he's one of the ultra competitive guys like I've ever seen. And I don't think that's going to stop just because he's 44. Like, I'm excited to see it and what he can do.
And he's going to wear 17. So the Colts, there's a unique thing in the rules that technically for players on IR, the jersey's available. Now, they don't normally give that number out, even if they're allowed to. But Phillip Rivers is 17 because that's what he's been his whole career. There's going to be some poor sap of a Colts fan that was like on vacation in the Bahamas, and he sees 17 back out there. He's like, yep, classic Daniel Jones. Wait, what the hell? It's Phillip Rivers? So he's going to be donning 17 on Sunday, potentially starting by all reports. So
and it's also their whole situation though has been weird. I looked it up now to make sure like I wasn't crazy. Like even now, like when Jones goes down, I feel like most people aren't following the Colts. You're thinking like, oh, okay, like now they got to go back to Richardson. But Richardson's been out since October because an elastic resistance band pole snapped and hit him in the face and fractured his orbital bone, temporarily impairing his vision and requiring surgery. Like, an elastic resistance band pole smacked him in the face, I guess, and broke his eye socket. Like, so that's why he's not there. Jones has the injury, obviously leaning a little too much on his other leg, pops the Achilles, he's out. Then you bring in Riley Leonard, he gets banged up a little bit. Like, it's just wild how we got to here. And their whole quarterback situation is nuts. And now they've gone from a team that were the 1 seed several weeks ago, had Kansas City dead to rights in Kansas City, and they kind of, threw up all over themselves and lost that game. And now they're sitting there being like, do we have to bring in Phillip Rivers? It's just wild stuff.
And you mentioned coaching his kids team, apostrophe S. Why don't you make it S apostrophe? Because him and his wife, Tiffany, have 10 kids. He's probably coaching 3 teams. All right. Last one here, and then we'll get to our Christmas spirit situation for sure. Bills, Paul mentioned opponent in the playoffs. How important, Anthony, is it that the Bills get a home playoff game? First, of course, those thirsty fans want one more in the good old creaky building before they move into the new palace. And number 2, the advantage. We saw it this weekend. I mean, playing in that snow, playing in that cold, playing in that wind. There's something to that. It is tough for other teams to come there. Is that something that is on the Bills' radar in terms of, trying to make happen before this thing ends?
I think to a degree it is there. Sean McDermott's whole adage of defend our dirt, and every player in the locker room has like a piece of like the turf or like the bits of rubber or whatever, because they don't really have actually dirt because it's a fake field, which will be a new actual grass field in the new stadium, which I'm very excited for. So we know they kind of believe in that, and they have been a very good team at home. And I think from that standpoint, plus like I'm assuming from a player standpoint, you'd rather not have to travel. If you don't have to travel, you get to sleep in your own bed. You're there with your family. You just get to go to work and go home every day. There's no like, oh, let's stay in a hotel and get on the plane. So I think there are a bunch of logistical things that make sense for them. On the field, it's interesting. The elements help them because they're able to run the ball and they have a quarterback that can throw through the rain and wind and snow. But defensively, they're bad against, having to stop the run. But if they can only sell out for that because their other team can't throw because of the elements, like we saw in the Pittsburgh game, along with some other, issues for Pittsburgh, maybe that helps them a little bit. So I think it's a little more questionable there on the field with how much it benefits them. But I do think they want a home game. And I think there's also part of it maybe for them and definitely for the fans getting at least one more playoff game at that stadium. I think that was part of the storybook for this year, like winning the division, ideally being the 1 seed, hosting the AFC Championship. Like going to the Super Bowl will matter more than anything, but being able to go to the Super Bowl while winning the AFC Championship at home and having that be the last game to close out this stadium and close out what really is a multitude of eras for this team. I think that's a little bit maybe in the back of their mind, definitely in the forefront of the mind for the fans. So I think it is playing a role to some degree in varying capacities.
All right. In the Christmas spirit, we end with our Christmas question. We asked you last week about your favorite all-time Christmas gift. You came up with a good answer for that one. So this week, we move to the world of Christmas traditions, in a sense, and ask you your all-time favorite Christmas movie. It could be animated. It could be a film. It could be a black and white. Wherever you want to go, do you have a movie that you like to sit down every Christmas and watch and get you in the spirit?
Die Hard.
Wow.
In a row. We're 2 for 2 on Die Hard this week.
Hard.
Yes, and Giants. And then the question is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes.
We can have that.
So that's funny. I used to be not staunch, but I used to have arguments with my buddies all the time because I was like the one person. I was like, Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. And they were like, dude, it like literally takes place on Christmas. It qualifies. And I was like, no. It was like, Christmas is just there. It's not part of it. But the more I watched it and got into it, like, that whole movie only happens because it's Christmas. Like the party is happening there.
Family.
That's exactly it. Like the party's happening there. John McClane is there because of the Christmas piece. Like the terrorists know what's going to be happening there because of the party and the difference in security and all the like everything. And like it's all because of Christmas. So it is a Christmas movie. Like Christmas movies are themed around Christmas being like core or central to the story. And I came around on it. And once Die Hard was already one of my favorite movies. And then once I came around on that, I was like, well, this is my favorite Christmas movie. Home Alone is up there for me too.
Okay.
I've seen a Christmas Story too many times to the point now I hate it. Like I just don't want to watch it. Yeah, I'm right there. Yeah. So yeah, I'd probably say Home Alone is like a truer Christmas movie is my second. But yeah, Die Hard's my answer.
It is funny, how some movies, Christmas or otherwise, you could go back and watch some movies 100 times. Like I could watch My Cousin Vinny till the cows come home.
Same.
And I still laugh.
Yeah.
It just holds. And there just are such good comedic moments. And you just want to repeat what the characters are saying because it's so unique what the characters are saying. And it's so funny. And then there are other movies where first watch, you're like, hey, that was a really good movie. Second watch, you're like, yeah, that was a pretty good movie. And then by the fourth watch, you're like, I don't want to watch this thing anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had enough of this movie. There's just nothing else for me there's no other onion for me to unpeel here. So
that's very fair.
It's funny how movies are like that sometimes.
I love My Cousin Vinny, and I've got my brother-in-law is he hunts a little bit. And so anytime he mentions anything about hunting, I essentially like do the Marissa Tomei thing that she does to Pesci with like, and the whole like, imagine you're a little deer, you take your little deer lips, you put it down, then I can't do the whole thing because he swears so much. She's like, bam, bullet whacks you in your brain, blood is everywhere. And she, what I give, yeah, I give that to him every time. Yeah,
he's gonna care what pants you're wearing,
what pants you were wearing, and he's just like, oh my god,
fantastic. And by the way, just in conclusion, Tomei, I mean. She's up there forever. What
Didn't she? Isn't that the movie where she like won the but it was like not supposed to happen. It's been one of those conspiracy theories. Like they read, so that's the movie. Okay, I couldn't rember. Yeah, that's such a crazy role to win that award for. But I mean, that's an iconic movie. Yeah. Like there's a ton of people right now who can quote My Cousin Vinny. I only know that me personally. I only know that Pause Attraction is a thing. And what a Pontiac Tempest is because of that movie. Like, that's it.
Okay. Well, that will put a nice, neat bow on this one. Anthony Prohaska, a pleasure as always. And we'll talk to you again next week.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Enjoy your day.